I can't remember who identified the topic, but someone identified the topic. Gopa Kumar's commitment to receive the fullness of his guru's gift, which was the Madana-Gopala mantra. So this topic is taken from Brhad Bhagavatamrta Part 2. Part 1 is Narada's journey, quest, search for the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. And it ends with saying this was just a sequel, and now comes the real story, a warm-up for the real story. The real story is the story of Gopa Kumar. And the subtitle here is The Gift of the Holy Name. Gift of the Holy Name, because this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, is to give the gift of the Holy Name. And the Goswamis want to write literatures. They're instructed to write literatures that give the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the same as the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is the gift of the Holy Name.
Recording in progress.
And so let's go to the beginning, where we find something about Chaitanya, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, about Sanatana Goswami, who is the author. Sri Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, this is a quote from Prabhupada's Adi Leela, chapter 5. The teacher of the science of devotional service wrote several books, of which Brhad Bhagavatamrta is very famous. Anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees, devotional service, and Krishna must read this book. So we're going to not read the book. We'd have to have several hours, more than several hours, to read the book. We're just going to touch on highlights of part 2. Some little background that comes from the introduction of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. We see in the painting there's Maharaj Parikshit, who is being bitten by the snake bird, and the great sages and great personalities are standing by watching his body burst into flames from the intense poison of the snake bird. But before that snake bird came, he heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami. And now we hear in Brihad Bhagavatamrita that after he heard Shukadeva Goswami speak, there was some break in time before that snake bird came. And so his mother, Uttara, came before Maharaj Parikshit and essentially asked, "What did you hear from Shukadeva Goswami? Please extract the essence of what Shukadeva Goswami has taught you."
Guru Maharaj.
So there's the topic. You saw the first slide, and a little conversation about the gift of the Holy Name. That's the gift that was given by his guru, Madana-Gopala mantra was given by, there we go. By Gopa Kumar's guru. Now you're able to see Sanatana Goswami on the left, yes?
Yes, Maharaj.
Oh, isn't that nice? So I read from Adi Leela, chapter 5, where Sanatana Goswami wrote many books, and of which Brihad Bhagavatamrta is very famous. I read, this is taking directly from Chaitanya Charitamrita. I also then described this situation pictured here. You can see Maharaj pictured on the right side of the painting.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.
After Maharaj Parikshit heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami got up and left. And the snake bird hadn't come yet. And so his mother, Uttara, came before Maharaj Parikshit asking, could you explain to me, this isn't really the right time to ask such a question, but what did you just hear from Shukadev Goswami? Can you describe the essence of all of what you have heard? So note that the numbers, part 1, chapter 1, verse 18, where Uttara is asking, please extract the essence of what Shukadev Goswami has taught you. So Brihad Bhagavatamrita is an essence description of what Shukadev Goswami taught Maharaj Parikshit as told to his mother, Uttara. But he doesn't tell the 18,000 verses or more, because in the heavenly planets it's more. He re-narrated the essence in story form. And part 1 in the story form is Narada's quest for the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy. And part 2 begins this way. And part 1 ends, that was just a warm-up or preview. Here's the real story. Here's the real, what I learned from hearing from Shukadev Goswami. So the curtain opens. There's a Mathura Brahmana who for some time had been living in Assam. He was worshiping the goddess Kamakhya Devi, and from her he received the Madana-Gopala mantra in a dream. So he was a chanter of the Madana-Gopala mantra. He went back to Mathura from Assam, and in course of time, he met, as we see in the painting, Gopa Kumar, the little boy with the flute and the cowherd boy costume. That's Gopa Kumar. And he met him near Keshigat in Vrindavan. And somehow, the Mathura Brahmana who had received the Madana-Gopala mantra while in Assam, while worshipping Kamakhya Devi, he thought, this little boy, this must be Gopal. And he fell at his feet and started asking him questions. And he's confused. He's submitting to Gopa Kumar as guru, saying, from various sources I've heard of various goals and various methods to achieve them, but still I cannot definitely decide what goal I should strive for and what I should do to reach it. You know, the goal of life and the means to achieve it. Same, sadhya and sadhana. Same two questions that Sanatana Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sadhya and sadhana, the means to achieve it. So as the Mathura Brahmana is asking these questions of Gopa Kumar decides he's going to tell his autobiography. He said, normally one doesn't answer questions by telling your autobiography, but I can't think of a better way to answer your question, sadhya and sadhana. So here's my story. And he starts to tell his story. There we see Gopa Kumar, same Gopa Kumar, receiving in his left ear mantra from his guru. And the description in part 2 of Brhad Bhagavatamrta, one day, meeting me on the shore of the Jamuna, he embraced me. That is, Gopa Kumar had seen from a distance this sadhu who he didn't know who he was, but he became very attracted. And one day it just so happened that the sadhu met him on the side of the river Jamuna. He embraced me and spoke in this way, my dear child, if you want to fulfill all your desires, please bathe at Keshigat and then accept from me this mercy of the Lord of the universe. So the Lord of the universe, that's Madana-Gopala. He's going to give him the Madana-Gopala mantra. And he then received the Madana-Gopala mantra from this yet unnamed guru, who he was very attracted to. And Gopa Kumar is telling the Mathura Brahmana, he imparted this mantra to me, the same one that you are chanting. So they share the same mantra, Madana-Gopala. But Gopa Kumar doesn't stop. He's not confused like the Mathura Brahmana. Gopa Kumar became particularly very interested to see the Lord of his mantra, his Madana-Gopala mantra. So while he had that desire awakening in him, there's a hint that something that it's nice, it's beneficial. If when chanting, if this Madana-Gopala mantra is one of our mantras or one of our Gayatri mantras, and it's an indication from Sanatana Goswami through this book that it's beneficial to desire to experience the presence of the Lord of the mantra. So while having that desire from the result of chanting the mantra, he saw a learned Brahmana who was worshipping a Shalagram Shila. And by the advocacy and the advice of the Brahmana who was worshipping Shalagram Shila, he somehow became a king of a whole Vaishnava kingdom. Because he's going to be told later that one has all desires fulfilled by chanting of this mantra. So after becoming a king, first comes the desire to see the Lord of the mantra. He became a Vaishnava king, and then he went to Puri in order to see Lord Jagannath. But when he went to see Lord Jagannath, he was wild. He liked Lord Chaitanya. He just cried out, "Oh, Gopal!" and started running with his arms stretched because he was seeing in Lord Jagannath, Lord Gopal. And the guard stopped him because he was, like a wild little boy. And then later, he met his guru a second time. He looks a little different in this painting, but you see Jagannath Puri in the background, the dome of the temple, and the sand by the beach. The guru tells him, "My dear boy, whatever you desire," and I put the word sankalpa, it's not in the verse itself, I'll explain. Whatever you desire, while chanting your mantra, by its power you will fully achieve. Indeed, you will attain more than you desire. This chanting, please understand, is another form of service to Lord Jagannath. Have faith in this and never give up your japa. Now he's calling it japa. Several places it's called japa. We normally don't use that kind of language. That Gayatri mantra chanting isn't normally by ISKCON folks called japa, but it's being called that way here. May you develop the right mentality for tasting the mantra's fruit. So that's a benediction, and it's an instruction from his guru. And in the commentary, which is also by Sanatana Goswami, the commentary says that the all-knowing guru perceived that Gopa Kumar was neglecting his mantra. So he helped him achieve a desire by correcting his neglect. So chant with very careful intention. So in that same purport to the same verse, Prabhupada refers to the word sankalpa, which is very important when we're chanting mantras, plural, or Hare Krishna mantra, singular, or such invocations of the mercy of the Lord. And a sankalpa is important. Why? A sankalpa helps one focus, and B, sankalpa helps as one becomes focused and one calls upon the power and potency and mercy of the Lord, those things that one desires become achieved by the grace of the Lord. So this is his second encounter with his guru. He doesn't know his name yet, by the way. He's going to find out his name soon. Because after he gave him this Gopal mantra, he just went off in a daze and started wandering off into the distance. The conversation was over, but he had received the mantra and his mercy. So he had stayed in Puri for some time. The story goes on, there's details. He not just stayed in Puri for some time, he became king of Puri for 1 whole year. And he was not satisfied with being the king of Puri. Jagannath instructed him, go to Mathura, at full circle. He was in Mathura. He was not only in Mathura, he was in Vrindavan. He went from Vrindavan to a place where he saw a Brahmana worshipping Shalagram Shila. He then became a king of a Vaishnava kingdom. He left that place to go to visit Puri. He stayed in Puri for a year, became king of Puri. Now we have Jagannath instructing him to go back to Mathura. There we see Gopa Kumar seated on an elevated seat, still in a Kumar form. There's somebody whispering some instructions in his ear on how to observe proper conduct when he's in the presence of great souls like demigods. He's instructing Gopa Kumar, here's the proper behavior. Well, this is now not just back in Vrindavan and Mathura. He was somehow mystically transported to heaven. That's this picture here. By dint of his meditation, Gopa Kumar was promoted. So this is all the power of the mantra. Gopa Kumar was promoted to the post of the king of the heavenly planets, the post of Indra. One day, a group of sages came to his court. Everyone rose from their seats and reverentially welcomed the sages, except Gopa Kumar, because he didn't know the etiquette. And so someone is whispering him what the etiquette is. With amazement, I looked on as all the demigods and celestial sages and even their spiritual master and the Lord himself worshiped those sages reverently. I was a new resident of Swarga, my heart distracted by the bliss of serving Lord Vishnu, so I failed to recognize the sages. But at the urging of my companions, I too worshipped them. So this is just little snapshots. From heaven, he goes to Maharloka. In Maharloka, there's the sage Bhrigu and other great sages. They're grahastas, and they're engaged in fire sacrifice. They get to see the Lord of the fire sacrifice emerging from the fire as he extends his hands to receive their offerings. He likes it there, but he gets this urging to go to Maharloka, Janaloka, then Tapaloka. And Tapaloka is the place for renunciates. There he saw the four Kumaras seated, but he didn't find the sages because they were silent in their meditation. They were doing what people do in Tapaloka. There's the Navyogendras. He meets them there. There's lots of exchange. There's lots of exchange. And the four Kumaras in their process of meditation, of course, they have different residences, but one of those residences is in Tapaloka, a nice place for them. And the residents of Tapaloka, are encouraging Gopa Kumar, you don't have to go somewhere. Right here in Tapaloka, you can see the Lord within your heart. Just meditate. You're a good meditator. And by constant remembrance and by meditation, you'll see him within your heart. So he becomes impressed. And after he becomes impressed, the Kumaras show Madana-Gopala many different forms of the Lord. However, he was very appreciative of their kindness, and he was going on and on and on, but it's not the same as Madana-Gopala. So what happens next? Here's the main essence of what the topic for this evening is. Well, there's a few of them. This is one of them. For fear of being ungrateful, I never gave up my japa, nor for a moment was I able to forget this Vrajabhumi. Now, being ungrateful was because he was told by his guru, never stop chanting. So for fear of being ungrateful, he never stopped chanting. And although he was in other places, his mind was unable to go away from Vrajabhumi. Here's the commentary. This is the essence of our discussion for your morning session over there. Sanatana Goswami's commentary. From Gopa Kumar's point of view, the life of tending cows in Vrindavan was more attractive than any other circumstance, including residence in Nandana Vana, the heavenly realm. As long as he continued chanting his mantra, this attitude could not be covered by illusion because the natural effect of Sri Madana-Gopal's mantra was to attract the heart to the Lord's sports in Vrindavan, wanting to avoid being ungrateful. Notice it's in a different colored font. Gopa Kumar never stopped chanting. He might justify abandoning the mantra only after attaining its final goal. If he were to stop chanting before then, he would not discover the mantra's full benefits. Thus, to stop the chanting prematurely would amount to ingratitude, for without having bothered to receive all the mantra's benefits, how could he properly acknowledge them? Now that's the essence of our discussion for your morning hearing. There was a relationship between him and his guru. His guru recognized qualification. His guru gave him mercy, and along with the mantra, some instructions about the mantra. He hasn't given everything, because that's coming up next or shortly. But just on that much that he had received from his spiritual master, he had achieved all these amazing, amazing, amazing things based upon his faith that through this chanting of this mantra, all desirable things would come. And as the desirable things would come, he saw the insufficiency of anything short of being in this direct, loving relationship with Madana-Gopala. Now, it doesn't mean that all of us have to go through all those, being an inhabitant of Indraloka and becoming a king in Orissa or something like that. It's just indicating, even if there are non-spiritual desires, they may be fulfilled also. So better watch out. Better be careful what you're desiring. This is coming a few verses later, about 30 verses later. He stayed for some time, attracted by the display of great power. This is in Tapaloka. Out of respect for my guru's order, and because I had seen how effective my mantra was, I kept on chanting. He never stopped. So it was Goloka, the Tapaloka wasn't glitzy, it wasn't material opulence, but it was very, very strong personalities, very elevated personalities who he was in the association with, the Navayogendras and the four Kumaras and great ascetics and brahmacharis and very powerful men. So he really liked the place, he liked the association. The atmosphere of Tapaloka weakened. Gopa Kumar's resolve to see the Lord. But still he persevered in chanting his japa. Why? His guru had ordered him never to stop chanting. And Gopa Kumar did not want to be ungrateful by disobeying. In one sense, this, part of the allure that can draw one's attention away from what the real purpose of bhakti is to become enamored by the opulences that come with the practice of bhakti. And it can be different kinds of opulences. With attraction to those opulences, then comes the subtle pride of one's achievements or attainments, or the allure of Maya is very strong, in short. But Gopa Kumar, even he became a little enamored by what he experienced in Tapaloka, he never stopped chanting. The lifeline that saved him was his relationship with his spiritual master. And the instructions, as simple as they were, from his spiritual master. Now let's just take a look at ourselves for a moment. And we also have many nice instructions. There was some conversation the other day with someone that was saying, when there's nice association, I feel really lifted. And then something happens. After some time, it starts to fade. And I find myself kind of, not exactly, but kind of back where I was before. It's got the complacency and familiarity and those kinds of things. So in order to reach the goal, as it's saying here, persevere in the chanting of japa, there has to be a sankalpa that's clear. And that keeps you on track. Of course, good association from time to time, special good association will help. Here's a painting where he again meets his guru. So from Tapaloka, he went to Brahmaloka. And while in Brahmaloka, there was an anxiety, we're also going to die. And sure enough, there was a partial devastation at the end of the day of Brahma. And Gopa Kumar experienced it. So when that happened, he returned to Vrindavan. And when he returned to Vrindavan, he met his guru for the third time, and the guru instructed him in many details related to worship of his mantra. That doesn't say specifically what those details were, but that is to say, further refinement may come when one is ready to receive further refinement. The further refinement capacity comes when one takes the initial very seriously and fastidiously and in a sustained fashion over time, which Gopa Kumar has done, and withstanding attractions or withstanding all kinds of things. Pride, as mentioned, pride, or whatever it is that one becomes. You lose attachment for something and then you become attached to something else. Anything other than the attachment to the final goal can be a binding force kind of an attachment. His spiritual master says, because you are very dear to me, I have now given you everything I possess. By the power of this mantra, you will understand and attain everything on your own. On your own doesn't mean independence. It means the guru may recognize, in this case, Jana Sharma is his name. He is recognizing Gopa Kumar's credential. He's an exceptional, extraordinary person. So the Supreme Lord will help you to understand and realize everything that you need. So there he is, back in Vrindavan. He went from Brahmaloka all the way back to Vrindavan. He's in Vrindavan, and he's gotten this last, third and final meeting with his spiritual master. And he suddenly feels himself being transported upwards. And that being transported upwards, he sees himself passing through all those places he visited before. The heavenly planets, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Brahmaloka. Now he's going into another realm. He's going into the realm of the layers of the universe. That's a very interesting description. And when he passes through the layers of the universe, he's outside the coverings of the universe. And what does he see? This bright light. And in this bright light, he sees Lord Shiva descending, riding on Nandi in the company of Parvati. So there's Nandi right in the center. And by his side or on his lap of Lord Shiva, there's Parvati. And there's Lord Shiva, and there's the devotees of Lord worshipping. And this is what Gopa Kumar is seeing. And after he has some exchange with Lord Shiva, he continues further, and interestingly, he meets the Vishnu Dutas. Very interesting. And when he meets the Vishnu Dutas, they were descending from the spiritual realm, heading towards the material realm, saying that they're on their way, like kind of a rescue mission, to enter into the material world and relieve people of their material existence. And all these are these experiences of Gopa Kumar is he understands is coming as a result of his mantra chanting. So there's Vishnu Dutas, there's the four Kumaras. In the same little boy uniform, that's Gopa Kumar. There's Lord Shiva and various demigods. So he has these discussions with these personalities. And finally, he reaches the Vaikuntha Loka realm. And he reaches the Vaikuntha Loka realm. He wants to enter the gates of Vaikuntha. And we know what happens when the Kumaras tried to enter the gates of Vaikuntha. They weren't allowed. But he's meeting other residents of the spiritual world. and these other residents of the spiritual world, they have forms so similar to Lord Vishnu's form, he can't make the distinction. Then he starts seeing persons with different forms. The gatekeepers go inside. We'll be right back. Says stay here. We'll see if the Lord will receive you. I then beheld someone coming and entering that great city. I thought, he is Sri Hari, and I cried out again and again, oh Lord, protect me, and bowed down to him. But he covered both his ears and gestured to me to stop. So he's mistaking very opulent persons to be Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayan, and that's not the case. Many things happen. Finally, he gets inside the gates of Vaikuntha. All of that is described. And he goes to the throne where Lakshmi and Narayan are seated. And much to his surprise, a number of flute players dressed like cowherd boys, there they were in front of Lakshmi Narayan. And they were treating him with great affection. And they urged me to play my flute. This is Vaikuntha. Lakshmi Narayan are enjoying. This has everything to do with the Lord reciprocates with the desire of the devotee. Even in the Vaikuntha realm. Anywhere. So you better watch what your desires are. And here's what Lord Narayan says to him. Welcome, my dear boy. I am fortunate, most fortunate to meet you here. Not the other way around. For so long, I've been eager to see you, my dear friend. You have passed many lifetimes without paying any attention to me at all. For so long, hope had me dancing like a fool, thinking, perhaps in this lifetime, or this, he'll finally turn his face towards me. But I could find no pretext on which to bring you to my abode, dear brother, and still follow the timeless laws that I myself have created. You showed me no mercy. And as I considered this, I grew impatient, full of anxiety to receive your favor. So I transgressed my eternal code of conduct and arranged for you to take your current birth, dear boy, in that divine district of Govardhan, my most beloved abode. I myself became your guru, known by the name Jayanta. So now we're hearing his name for the first time. Now somehow I heard somewhere it's Jana Sharma, but it's Jayanta. Today, you have at last fulfilled the desire I have harbored for so long. Please nourish your happiness and mine by staying here forever. Don't ever leave again. What a wonderful invitation, and full of surprises. However, he's very happy in Vrindavan, but it's not Madana-Gopala. Not Madana-Gopala. And recognizing his hankering for Madana-Gopala, he's then mystically transported to Dwarka. And when he gets to Dwarka, who should he meet but Narada? And he says to Narada, what are you doing here? Best of the Lord's associates, in the guise of an exalted sage, I see you just everywhere. In the heavenly planets, in Vaikuntha, and now here, looking just the same. How fascinated I am to see this. Of course, Gopa Kumar is respecting appropriately such an exalted Vaishnava as Narada, but he really wants Madana-Gopal's association. And he's fixed, and he's fixed, despite so many twists and turns. And so fast forward a little bit, Gopal Kumar is going to actually meet in person Madana-Gopal. When he meets Madana-Gopal, it's in Vrindavan. He's with his cowherd boyfriends in a forest. They're with their cows. And as soon as Madana-Gopal sees Gopa kumar, he came running. He leaps forward and came close to me, compelled by the affection of his helpless devotee. I fainted in love at seeing him. He caught hold of me by my neck, and suddenly he too fell to the ground. So there are these very beautiful paintings depicting the warm embrace of Madana-Gopal, Krishna, and Gopa Kumar, another such nice painting. And the residents, they're all very happy to see Krishna so happy. And Krishna is so happy because he's been waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, Madana-Gopal comes back. Krishna gives him a different name besides Gopa kumar. It's Sarup, not Svarup, but Sarupa. So he invites Sarupa to come with him back to Nandagram, because there we see Sarup with his flute right behind his back. And Krishna and Balaram are on either side of Nanda Maharaj, and they're taking prasadam. And Krishna is giving prasad, his own prasad, to Gopa kumar, now Sarup. Then he tells this, we're almost done, this final narration about meeting Srimati Radharani. Early this morning, Sri Radhika Devi herself came and ordered me, Sarup, a Brahmana from Mathura, who is my devotee, is coming to my grove. Go there alone the first thing today, enlighten him with good instructions, console him, and help him quickly attain Krishna's grace. So he's being given some nice service by Srimati Radharani herself. The Mathura Brahmana considered himself a devotee of Durga, but she is a partial expansion of Sri Radhika, Lord Madana-Gopal's eternal consort. So this is pretty much it. It ends, I'm going to end abruptly because it just goes into some important philosophical understandings. Let's go back to the theme. The theme is Gopal Kumar relentlessly, devotedly, faithfully wishing to receive that which his spiritual master wanted him to receive without ever slackening, going through so many experiences that could easily be distracting. I mean, any one of these could be easily distracting, and feel this is it. But Gopal Kumar felt to some degree in some places a little attracted, but it wasn't a deep and profound attraction. He didn't stay with it. In fact, he kept moving and kept moving and kept moving. And so in our spiritual practice, similar. The motivation in his, one of the strong motivations was he didn't want to be ungrateful. The guilt of ingratitude. There's a very nice, during the Memorial Day weekend, coming up soon, real soon, one of the topics that I've chosen to speak about is Hanuman crossing the ocean. and the obstacles that he met to cross the ocean. This is kind of like that. It's narrated in a different way, obviously, but it's kind of like that. And one of the first obstacle that Hanuman encountered was Minda. Minda was a mountain that had received a favor from both Lord from Vayu, and he wanted to repay the kindness given to him by Vayu. The kindness was, it's just described in the commentaries. There was a time when mountains had wings and could fly. And the demigods didn't like that. So they instructed Indra to use his thunderbolt weapon and knock off their wings so they couldn't fly anymore. And as the Minda, who was flying here and there, Indra tried to cut his wings with his thunderbolt weapon. Vayu saved him. Vayu escorted him into the depths of the ocean where Indra's thunderbolt weapon couldn't act, and he was protected. So Minda wanted to repay his debt. He was very happy to receive a same reminder from Samudra, because Samudra also felt indebted. This gratitude, indebtedness message is being repeated. Because when Sagara expanded the ocean by digging to find the horse, the ocean benefited. And when Agastya Muni was going to dry up the ocean, when he became angry with the ocean, there's some detail of that Puranic story. Lord Ramachandra helped him. And so, feeling indebted to Lord Ramachandra, the ocean personified wanted to do something. So when Hanuman was there was the opportunity. So the ocean went to Minda, please help Hanuman. Minda wanted to help Hanuman because it's an expression of his gratitude. So it's double gratitude. And there's a nice reference, there's a nice reference in Mahabharata about Ramayana and Lakshmana speaking about gratitude and ingratitude. So here it is. This is from Madhvacharya's commentary on Mahabharata. And this is, covering the same point from a very different angle over this coming weekend. It's going to, Friday evening. The obstacles crossed over by Hanuman. So one of those obstacles is when receiving a favor, indulging in that favor, and the other is being ungrateful. In Madhvacharya's commentary, there's a statement made by one who's narrating the pastime that when Lakshman becomes very angry at Sugriva, because after Sugriva was restored with his kingdom and his wife, he became complacent. And he came and Lakshman was going to let him have it, saying, there are ways to counteract the wrong deed of killing a Brahmana and this and that and the other thing, but there's nothing that one can do to atone for ungratitude. Point being, gratitude is very important. Gratitude is powerful. It's not everything, but it's powerful. And gratitude can help, in the case of Gopa kumar, it helped Gopa kumar reach the goal. because he would feel ungrateful if he didn't. If he did something, got something, and felt satisfied with something rather than the real purpose of the Madana-Gopala mantra, it would be tantamount to being ungrateful. That's a powerful understanding, for me at least. I think obviously for Sanatana Goswami, or for anyone that's practicing spiritual life. To when beyond getting relief from something that's unwanted and beyond the problem of getting the things that are wanted, and what's left, what can keep one going, the sense of a relationship with those who have bestowed bhakti upon you or us. And what is it they want to give us? It's not that they want to lift us up out of some suffering. Of course they want that, but there's a real purpose behind it. It's more than just lifting us out of suffering. And mantra has the power to do that. That's the essence. So, devotees in Singapore, I'm going back to the introductory slide. Gopa Kumar's commitment to receive the fullness of his Guru's gift, the Madana-Gopala mantra. So a lot of it rested upon his sense of not wanting to be ungrateful, or the positive, wanting to fulfill the fullness of the purpose of the mantra. Now, he also had his own desire, aside from the relationship consideration. He wanted to see Madana-Gopal. But more prominent even than his wanting to see Madana-Gopal was this feature of not wanting to be ungrateful, or, on the positive side, wanting to achieve the fullness of what mantra has available for him, or anyone. That's high, but that's the message from this part 2 of Brhad Bhagavatamrta. And it brought him into Krishna's association. So, Singapore devotees who are assembled here, any points you'd like to discuss further? I hope the audio is working. I hope the video is working too. I mean, the visuals. We have something in this room. You have something?
No, we are watching. It's coming. Video and audio.
You have a what? In the chat box?
Yeah, I'm seeing the
YouTube. It was coming on YouTube.
It's coming on YouTube. Okay. So you're just confirming you can see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Any, Prabhus? Any discussion?
Yeah, Anantacharya Prabhu, you can ask. You have raised your hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can you hear me?
Oh, you're loud and clear.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for the very nice class. I was delighted. So my question, Maharaj, you mentioned twice, better be watchful of your desire, of what you desire, be watchful. So some desires we consciously do, Maharaj, and some desires come and go due to vasana or conditioning, right? What are the efforts that we to do to control or manage those desires that we doesn't consciously do, but it just comes?
Well, there's the positive and the negative. And the more you're focusing on the positive, the more you'll be tuned into when you're distracted, or the negative. The distraction is itself an offense. There's a very nice message from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Distraction itself is the root of offense. It is an offense. It's one of the, inattentiveness while chanting is an offense against the holy name. It's the essence of the 10 offenses. So it's what's required all of us, myself included, is staying with what the mantra is, what the process of bhakti is, and the mantra and the teachings, etc., and staying with it and not becoming complacent or distracted. And that's self-realization is who we really are. And if we become a little complacent, then we're not going to experience who we really are. And we're going to be what you just described. Unsteady bhakti. That's going to be our experience. From unsteady attentiveness. So it takes perseverance. It's the same. This is the same message. Abhyasa.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Paramananda Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I had a question on the motivation of Gopa Kumar. In many places you mentioned he was afraid of being ungrateful. That is different than gratitude, right, Maharaj? While
It's the negative side of it. It's not different. It's the negative side. He wanted to be. I'm interrupting. Go ahead and finish your thought.
no, that was my question, Maharaj. Is it a negative motivation that he had because it was from the platform of fear of ingratitude, or is it
Well,
like gratitude?
with everything, there's its plus and the minus. I'll give a little example. The other day, I was speaking with someone that's going off to college for the first time, going out of home, is going to be away from home and going, freshman somewhere. And on the one hand, and on the other hand, on the one hand, he likes academics, he likes his studies. And on the other hand, he also likes to have fun, and he knows that's a problem for him. He can just get into enjoying, and before he knows it, he's neglected his studies. So that's an example, but and life has its examples of things that we know that are detrimental and things that we know that are beneficial. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. You could say the one, but the one says the other. Without the other, it's incomplete. You can try to avoid something, or you can try to be positive about something, but there may be distraction that takes one away from the positive. So both they're flip sides of the same coin. And another way of saying the same thing, it's just another way of saying the same thing. Those things that are beneficial for your bhajan, for your bhakti, you do those things. And there are things that are detrimental, just like the nectar of instruction, the first two verses. The 6 things and 6 things. So it's good to know what the things that are that bhaktir vinashati, and they're good to know the things that are bhaktir prasiddhati. And there are 2 verses. So you can say it this way, or you can say it that way. And one of the best ways to ensure that there's strength in your activities is be aware when you're not being attentive where the mind's going to go. And there's the negative zone, and beware as soon as you start seeing the negative zone working into your life, then you're distracted. So it's the positive and the negative both.
Maharaj, my wife has a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please extend my most humble obeisances. Thank you for the wonderful class, Maharaj. Whereas I was just wondering that, just clarifying that Lord was, as you mentioned, Lord was very eager to, even Lord was very eager to receive that Gopa kumar.
Yes.
But he didn't immediately go. He was chanting the mantra, but he did. So there were obstacles, and he went through phases, and finally he reached. So like that, when we hear in class, we sincerely desire to attain the goal, but then we find while applying, we find many obstacles. It's not easy to actually apply the instructions. So how we can?
I addressed your question already. It's perseverance. And one of the so to say it's the same thing said in 3 different ways. Perseverance. Second way, it's one of my favorites these days, from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Paramananda is well aware of this because it's one of the body, mind, spirit PPTs. Patanjali, you know who he is. Patanjali, you know who he is?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj.
So in his Yoga Sutra number 6, I think it is, he gives a definition of abhyasa. So you can overcome by practice. You can become, or say positive, you become good at something by practice. So from where you are to where you want to go, you have to practice, which is what your question is. So he says practice. So does Krishna say, abhyasa yogi yuktena. Then practice has 3 parts. It's quite simple. Something you do every day, something you do for a prolonged period of time, that's the perseverance part, and something that enables or empowers or strengthens the perseverance part is faith. Faith. Or he doesn't use shraddha, he uses another word, but you have the confidence this is going to take me to where I want to go. There's where we are, and there's where we want to go, and there's the means of getting there. It's the same, sadhya and sadhana. Where you want to go is the sadhya, and there's a means to get there. So that's the practice, but there's confidence the practice is going to take you there. So that's the second answer, is practice. Persevere, which is the first, in over a period of time with faith. That's practice. And then a third, it's related to both of these, that is, how are you going to maintain, when you're unsteady, how do you become steady? Because the obstacle from the steadiness is anarthas. You know this from Madhurya Kandamini, right? What's in between unsteadiness and steadiness is anarthas. So how are anarthas removed? Anartha nivritti is removed. Anarthas are removed, or anartha nivritti takes place by bhajana kriya. How does bhajana kriya take place? By sadhu sangha. So strengthen your sadhu sangha with the objective that your bhajana kriya activities will become stronger, with the objective that the anarthas will be more quickly nullified. Then comes steadiness. So the third part is sadhu sangha, strengthening your bhajana kriya. Then you can get to where you want to go. And then we'll do it again. Perseverance, practice, sadhu sangha. And there's a price. The objective is purity, and purity has a price. So you got to pay the price. That's our price. That's what we need to do. All of us. And Gopa Kumar is like a trendsetter. He's just giving us advice and wisdom of how to do it. Because that's what the Mathura Brahmana was asking him, the goal of life and how to achieve it, which is your question. Okay, I have some sense of the goal of life. Make it stronger. And how do you make it stronger? By bhajana kriya, by hearing and chanting regularly. How do I keep that regular? Sadhu sangha. All the elements are identified. We just have to apply ourselves to those elements. That's the how to. Okay. I see hands up. Who's first?
Yes, Padmini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the wonderful lesson. In the beginning of the satsang, you said that Uttara was asking Maharaj Parikshit, right? So I was just, forgive me for my ignorance. Why were ladies not allowed to sit in that, like when Shukadeva Goswami was giving the pravachan, right? Why there were no ladies? Is there any background for that?
Well, she wasn't the one that was being addressed. It's not that there's ladies are barred.
But
Maharaj Parikshit was being addressed.
Yeah. But in the, like, when Shukadeva Goswami was giving the, he was
Doing
explaining
his
the
pravachan, she was in the audience, but she didn't understand everything she wanted to understand from her son, who was more qualified than she.
Got it, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yes. Next.
Gopika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Really grateful for the class. Actually, my question is like, Gopa Kumar was not distracted even after like Lord Vishnu's such sweet welcome to Vaikuntha.
Say it again. Gopa Kumar was not what?
Yeah, he was not distracted. Even after, yeah. So, I saw that wonderful slide where Lord Vishnu was giving such a sweet welcome to Gopa Kumar to Vaikuntha. And then due to his faith in mantra, he could achieve like what he actually wanted. Is it possible that for some people, the final destination is Vaikuntha? And how did Gopa Kumar knew that it was not his final destination?
Well, he had his intrinsic nature, as do each of us. Now, this is very refined. It's a very refined position, but he had achieved that very refined position. You can call it spontaneous attraction. So some may be spontaneously attracted, like this or like that, or like another. Some may be spontaneously attracted in different ways. So his attraction was a spontaneous one. He knew because he wasn't satisfied. It's just one of those things that's I'll say it again. It's subtle and refined and elevated, but satisfaction is when satisfaction is reached, it's complete.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, it wasn't a story that he saw, look at these gopis, they're having a great time. Maybe I shouldn't be a cowherd boy. Maybe I should be a gopi. It wasn't one of those. It was, your question was, how did he know when he was in Vaikuntha that wasn't really his place? He just wasn't fully satisfied. It's not when he got similarly, when he got to Goloka, it's not like, hey, look at those gopis. I've heard about the gopis. They have such love for Krishna. I want to be a gopi. It was a spontaneous, natural loving attraction. That was his real identity. Thus, Gopa Kumar, not just Kumar, but Gopa Kumar, was who he really was. He was fully satisfied. Spontaneous love.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Madan Mohan, you're going to call on our people with their hands up.
Yeah, Paramananda Prabhu has a question, Maharaj.
Maharaj, I had one more question, Maharaj. When Gopa Kumar gets to Goloka Vrindavan and there is that beautiful exchange, in Vaikunta itself, Narayana tells him that I came as your Guru, Jayanta. Maharaj, is this like in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, I am the essence of this, I am the essence of this, or is this literal, Maharaj? Did he come as Jayanta, or is this, Guru is a embodiment of Krishna?
What's your understanding? I'll say it positive. The personality of Godhead expands himself. He didn't leave Vaikuntha. He didn't abandon his Narayana post, but he expanded himself. Now, how can expansions take place? There are different types of expansions. And one of those types of expansions is the empowerment kind, Shakti Avesh kind. That's one of the kinds of empowerment. So now, if the question was, did Lord Narayan literally expand himself as Jayanta, or did he empower a jiva to become his representative? And that seems to be what your question is, yes?
Yes, Maharaj.
So, and the answer is there's no difference. One is to see the spiritual, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada. One is to see the spiritual master as the representative of Krishna. He's not Krishna, but representative of Krishna. As the representative of Krishna, he's to be seen and treated as not different from Krishna. So it's not that Jayanta was a Vishnu Tattva form of Lord Narayan who expanded in his Vishnu Tattva identity and became the spiritual master of Gopa Kumar. However, it's certainly possible for Narayana to expand himself and to come in his Vishnu Tattva capacity and act as an instructing guru. So in the case of Jayanta, it's the expansion, a jiva being empowered. It's not Vishnu Tattva coming as Jayanta. But they're to be treated non-differently. In Krishna Lila, it's Balaram. In Gaura Lila, it's Lord Nityananda. In Ram Lila, it's Lakshman. They're Vishnu Tattva personalities that serve as spiritual master. While they're serving as spiritual master, for example, Hanuman is serving as guru also, but he's not Krishna, he's not Vishnu Tattva. Or Sandipani Muni, he's not Vishnu Tattva, etc.
Maharaj, there is a question from Sridhar Prabhu. He asks, how can we show our gratitude to ISKCON? We are receiving many superlative things in our life, although we didn't aspire or wanted to have because of our small intelligence.
Well, you know the answer, but you want to hear me say it, so I'll say it. We receive, and there's two parts. receive without adulteration, and then transmit that which you have received. That's our life of gratitude, of giving back from our start. Let's just keep it simple, from our founder Acharya and all of the branches that have come from our founder Acharya, from the root, so many branches, or we can say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the root and he's the gardener and he's the tree. So we distribute the fruits of the tree, receive them carefully, properly, and distribute them. That's a way of expressing.
Thank you, Maharaj. There seems to be no more question.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Wait, before you sign off, let's see if there's something in this room, because there's some people in the room here. I see one hand in the room, so I'll repeat since you can't hear, and hopefully they can speak loud enough so I can hear.
So Maharaj, you talked about practice with the perseverance, and then later comes the faith.
Not later comes the faith.
That order.
Well, it's not sequential.
But for the practice itself, we need some motivation, right? Goal is there as a motivation, but in this case today, we saw that there was not being ungrateful, and I think that was very powerful for me. That keeps the practice going. If we need that kind of.
Okay, I'll repeat the question and then edit the question. She said that I said that there's a sequence.
I understood wrong.
Okay, it's not a sequence, but it's three things make what practice is. And in one of those three that's missing is not practice. It can be mechanical if all three are not present. I can be enthusiastic, but not practice or not persevere. I can persevere in practice, but so all three are needed for, by definition, for abhyasa or practice to be what's happening or what's taking place or transpiring. So her point is, it was impactful for her to hear the ingratitude motivation, because that struck her particularly strongly. It struck me particularly strongly. I think that's one of the reasons that I repeated it. But it's not just I repeated it. It was in Sanatana Goswami's commentary to his book, because he wrote the commentary to the book, which Gopi Pranadana has just kindly translated for us. Back to Paramananda's question, which was there's ungratitude. What about, and my point was gratitude and ungratitude are two sides of the same coin. To not be guilty of gratitude, to not be guilty of being ungrateful, then the fuel, the power, the potency is the feeling of gratitude. When I see the feeling of gratitude going down, that's a sign. It's a warning sign. Like this kid going to college. It's a warning sign when he gets distracted by having fun with his friends and the academics start to sag. There's nothing wrong that one should have some activities that one enjoys doing. And so recreation, according to Bhagavad Gita, is part of life. And there has to be a balance. So just back to the more of a comment, I think, than a question. That there is motivation is needed. That was part of the question. But motivation is there's a goal. That's where this topic of sankalpa comes. What's the goal? What's the intention behind your practice? So it's good, if more than good, it's imperative to periodically revisit the motivation, the intention, the sankalpa, or to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Because otherwise it can easily become mechanical. That's when you check out. You know, the purposefulness of what you're doing, it wanes, and then what you're doing starts to wane or subside or become slack. So the purposefulness is very important. And it's good to revisit it and revisit it. And it's not just so that I don't become ungrateful. I mean, Parmananda repeated, because every time he introduces me, he repeats and reminds me of something that I've said many times. Gratitude is the seed of love. You can say ingratitude is the seed of a life that's loveless. Or gratitude is the seed of love. So being ungrateful, I don't want to have a life that's just dull and mechanical and monotonous. And, you know, then I'm the Mathura Brahmin, that I don't know what the goal is. I read so many things and I'm not really sure, and my heart's not really there in anything. So what do I do? So the question comment was purposefulness or intention is very important to have practice that's sustained over time. It's good to revisit it internally, not just say it when you are in a discussion group, in your Bhakti Vriksha discussion groups or something like that. You have all the check the box right answers, but something that's at the heart level that moves you. Okay, that was the comment. Anything else in the room? I covered it, yes? More? Okay. Anyone else in the room?
What's the
Sundara Prabhu, you want to ask?
No, wait, Madan Mohan, hold on. There's someone in the room here with me. Go ahead.
Can you tell me what is that mantra? The Madana-Gopala mantra.
Madana-Gopala mantra.
What is?
You want to know what it is? He wants to know what the Madana-Gopala mantra is. Well, he's Brahminically initiated. You should know what it is. Yeah, it's mantra number 6 of 7. Mantra number 6. 5. 6. Mantra number 6 of 7. That's our Madana-Gopala mantra. It's the same mantra.
Okay, I thought it was.
No. It's Gopal mantra, Madana-Gopala mantra. The hexagonal mantra described in Brahma Samhita. Okay, Madan Mohan, anything from your end?
Yes, Maharaj. Sundar Prabhu will ask the next question.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the class. Maharaj, just wanted to share one realization. So, this related to gratitude, right? So, Maharaj, what I realized, right, in the session, gratitude is so important, Maharaj, right? So, unless we are gratitude or grateful towards like our Guru or anyone, Guru Maharaj, right? So, we
Those
don't.
from whom you have received.
Sorry,
Those
Maharaj?
from whom you have received.
Yeah,
like
those whom
mother
we
and
have
father,
received.
mom and dad, people from whom we've received.
Yeah.
Your friends,
mm,
your guides,
mm.
your well-wishers, etc.
Yeah, Maharaj. So unless we are grateful, Maharaj, what I realize is like we are not authorized to have whatever they are trying to give us. So unless and until we are grateful towards the service, what they have given to us, not just service, like whatever they have given to us. So unless we are grateful towards them, so we are really not authorized, or we don't really own those things. So I just thought of sharing that realization, Maharaj.
Well, let me modify your realization. We won't get the fullness. We will not get the fullness of that gift.
Yeah, Maharaj.
Without sufficient gratitude, or ramp it up without sufficient love, we won't get the fullness of the gift from those who are giving with love. We'll get something. We don't get nothing, but we don't get the fullness of that gift.
Yeah, Maharaj.
Maharaj, there's a question from Satyavata Prabhu. He is asking, there are two causes for our dissatisfaction. There are two causes for our dissatisfaction, intermediate and ultimate. What is our priority and where we have to focus?
Do you understand the question? Because I don't.
So, Satyavata Prabhu, are you there? You can speak.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. My question is that as we are doing our services, there are two types of dissatisfaction comes in our life. For example, suppose we go to market and do service and we didn't get the right thing. So there is a satisfaction. And there question comes that I am not fully in my devotional consciousness. That's why these are the things that are happening. So now, where I have to focus?
Okay, let me say back what I think I just heard, and you can correct me if I didn't hear you properly. There's regret for not having sufficient clarity and thus not making the proper choices. And then there's the circumstance behind which we're not making the right choices. So things driving us, as the word was being used here before, vasanas, tendencies that are taking us away from what's really a benefit to us. And your question, is that what you're asking? And then my question is, where do we focus?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
A nice way to respond to your question is you go back to square one, or go back to how does bhakti begin? And bhakti begins when there's association of one who has bhakti, and that one who has bhakti it wants to share that which they have with us. And we recognize there's some we say yes to some degree or another. So my contemplation in response to your question is we go back to the square one position, which is, the motivation question that came up earlier. Why am I doing this? What is my purpose? What is it that I wish to, so it's not, success is not that you always make right choices. The success is that your purpose stays in focus. Because if you make choices that aren't the best choices, there's the course correction factor. The GPS will tell you, you took the wrong turn. It'll put you back on track. So make sure the destination is put in place and stays in place. So you go back to, why am I doing this? Why we here in a Zoom call? Why are we asking this question? Step back from the circumstance. My recommendation to the response to your question, if I've understood it correctly, is what comes first? What comes first is the mission of life, and then comes how to achieve it. So if we make some wrong how to achieve it choices, that's not the end of the world. It's not cataclysmic. If we miss the purpose of life, that's cataclysmic. So we try to make our best choices, like, going to the marketplace and getting something that's really not the best choice. It's okay. Okay.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Maharaj, thank you very much. So there is no more. We have already taken a lot of time.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for joining the call, and we'll see you again next time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.